What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. So, we're going to talk about SoFi. More specifically, this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, go over some of the current data points, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So, Friday was a pretty epic day for SoFi. Went up 7.41%. A lot of volatility. So, 717 was the low and 793 was the high. A ton of volume. So, 68.87 million shares were traded. 44.6 is the average. And if you kind of compare it to a lot of other growth stocks and just popular stocks, a lot of them were green, as was the broader market, but they didn't necessarily have nearly the volume, the dollar value volume that SoFi did. So it goes to show that big money was buying on Friday. And these are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market, over $100,000. A couple large ones, so 6.29 million, but even in comparison to the last couple of days, this is abnormal. So normally Fridays are relatively quiet, so lower volume. So this stands out. And one additional thing I actually oddly have been neglecting to bring up, just keep forgetting about it, is good old 𝗪𝗧𝗪. So over the last several weeks, she actually has done, I think, 2 or 3 instances or rounds of buying, if you want to call it like that. So I feel like based on the technicals, what SoFi has been offering through the earnings and through a lot of their fireside chats, institutions know that SoFi is going to be something very, very big. So they're accumulating now. So most likely during the latest or upcoming 13F for Q4, you're going to see some pretty abnormal changes when it comes down to that. And moving on though, I just want to go over a couple additional things that did happen on Friday, one of which was this. So oddly enough, a bearish analyst rating. Didn't really do much to the stock price as what Wedbush typically does, because oddly when Wedbush ratings come out, it always tanks the stock for whatever reason. I've kind of been very confused by that in the past. But Compass Point, Giuliano, that does have a 52% success rating, did give a sell and a $4 price target. And just to put it in comparison, so Wedbush, so David, does have a 38% success rating. So you would figure that the recent analyst rating, who has a 52% rating, significantly better than 38, doesn't really do too much to the stock price. So regardless though, all these analysts that are bearish on SoFi will eventually learn that they are very, very wrong. And going over this upcoming week though, looking at data points, Wednesday, so ADP non-farm employment, and then on Friday, there's non-farm payroll. So 2 very big indicators that the Feds are going to be watching, because those are very much linked to consumers. So obviously a fairly good thing. Looking at the non-farm payroll, it is forecasted to be 175,000. So if those data points are positive, that's going to continue and reconfirm the nice Santa Claus rally that a lot of people are talking on. And I'm going to play a quick 2-minute video throughout here, and just to break it down on what Citi is saying about at least the next couple months, what they do anticipate to happen with the broader market. And the only thing specific to SoFi is going to be coming out on December the 4th, so on Monday. And this is their shareholder Q&A. I think a lot of these questions investors typically already know the answers to, but still to hear it from SoFi itself, whether it be Anthony or Chris, it'll definitely be a very good thing. So one of which is just profitability. Second is, I guess, guidance, if they're still kind of matching the same guidance based on Technisys or whatever else. So I think this is going to be the next big catalyst, as I've kind of stated on last couple of videos. So hopefully this will give it a nice boost up, and once I go over the technicals, it'll make a little bit more sense. But like I mentioned, I just wanted to go over this quick video on how Citi is saying that they are planning that the S&P 500 could actually hit 5,000 by mid-2024. So I'm just going to quickly play this. So if you have any questions on what was said or what is being said, let me know in the comments below.
Let's look ahead to the final month of the year and beyond. Joining us now is Citigroup U.S. equity strategist Scott Kroner. Has an S&P 500 year-end target of 4,600. We're pretty much there. Mid-2024 target of 5,000. So what's your feeling about all of this going into 2024? You heard our conversation.
Yeah, I think you guys are spot on, Sarah. I mean, I think we still are focused on the Fed for good reason, right, in terms of an indicator of where they're taking policy, which is still quite restrictive by their definition, for what it's worth. But, you know, our focus has been on 10-year nominals for some time now, and that move towards 5% from the July timeframe when we were 4% really did add a number of areas of angst to investor confidence and psyche regarding the outlook. And so with the rate rally, since mid-October, you really have had a release valve at work in the markets that has benefited everything from tech, but also those areas of the market that were most concerning relative to a higher from longer rate regime, such as real estate, which has led over the past month or so. So the point here is that the broadening effect on the back of interest rate relief cannot be ignored. It's something that we've been talking about and have been playing to relative to our earnings outlook for next year, and we still think it's very much in place.
So here's one question.
So yeah, pretty good stuff. So I feel like this is a good check mark essentially for a lot of growth stocks to continue their rally. And in SoFi's case, it could kind of push it to back over that $10 range. My own opinion, not financial advice. You guys always do your own due diligence. But going over a couple additional things I just wanted to share with you, starting off with shorts. So I like to bring this up as a benchmark. Obviously, SoFi is not a short squeeze play by any means, but based on Friday, shorts did return 194.46 thousand shares. 15.16% of the free float is being shorted. 135.73 million shares overall are being shorted, and cost to borrow average is, as you can kind of see, 1.19%. Through interactive brokers, short availability does indicate that there's more than 10 million shares available to be shorted. So how I analyze this information by them returning on a very much green day on Friday goes to show that they feel that A, it's justified, and B, it could continue to trend up, and that's linked to the technicals. I have talked about the technicals quite a few times in this video because it is starting to look very good and very attractive. And plus, on the latest news, it does kind of talk on call options. So I'll kind of transition into that. So based on Friday, there was $13 million in calls being purchased versus 3.41 million in puts. Very, very optimistic. And looking at some of the call options that were purchased on Friday, a lot of them are anticipating for it to be over $8 by the end of December the 8th, so next Friday. And currently there's around 12,000 in open interest at that $8 strike price. And plus there seems to be a lot of January the 19th call options being purchased. So let me know your thoughts on that. And then as well, just to kind of look at puts, based on this, there wasn't nearly as much for the dollar value, but you can kind of see there is some anticipation for it to be below or sub $7 by the end of next Friday. So both are kind of linked to the technicals. And so with that, let's talk on technicals. So with it at $7.83, it is between this P and this R1. So $8.18 is going to be that next strong resistance, and $7.39 is going to be that next strong support. So those are some things to really watch for. But in my opinion, I do feel that the technicals are looking very much primed for a nice continuation of a rally, and especially as well based on that abnormal amount of call options, and with this being a very good catalyst in my opinion for a lot of good information and for institutions and retail to kind of piggyback off of what is said here and buy, which especially once they do say once again that Q4, so this quarter, they are going to be profitable. That is just going to finally click into people's heads like, hey, this is going to be the next big stock, and it's going to pull another Palantir and go 2-3x or whatever else, or potentially higher from these levels. Again, that's just my own opinion, because I do feel that SoFi is very much undervalued. But still, regardless, I feel like at least Monday it'll be able to get over this R1, so $8.18. And then depending on some of the broader data that does come out, it could potentially push it higher into maybe the R2 to R3 territory. That might be a little bit more optimistic, but I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. But just looking on the actual chart, and so going over here for a second, it is higher percentile of the Bollinger Band. Looking at momentum shows number of retail investors have been getting in, and it is actually above 0. So that does mean actually new investors are coming in, not necessarily just a small increase, because that 0 is kind of a benchmark. It's more of the transition for that. And looking at stochastic, it is at 73. A little bit more, potentially if it does continue, it could be considered overbought, so it might need to pull down a little bit, but I feel like that's happened time and time again with SoFi, and their technicals actually, oddly enough, do look very nice and natural. So again, that's kind of something to keep in mind, but despite its overbought status, it is a nice bullish sentiment, so black line above the red. So a lot of different things are happening with SoFi, but based on what they've been able to offer and what they are going to be potentially offering in the foreseeable future, I feel like a a lot of institutions ignoring SoFi at these prices are going to really regret it. So a lot of institutions such as even Kathy and whoever else has been buying as of late are finally realizing that SoFi is going to be the next big thing. But like I said, it's going to take time. It's not just going to be a 20 plus stock overnight. It's going to take time, especially considering as well they're trying to innovate one of the oldest sectors that's been in the stock market. So I have said that time and time again. You just have to kind of accept that, invest in SoFi, and oddly enough, you never know. I think it's one of the top questions. And number 2, if they ever plan on issuing a dividend to shareholders in the future. So I think that would be absolutely huge. Imagine if they even pay a 0.05 yield of a dividend. That would be insane. The stock price would just run up like a crazy like that would be insane. So once again, let me know your thoughts on all that. Give yourself a shout out. What have you been doing with SoFi? Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing? Or have you been doing options? Have you been part of this $13 million that bought on Friday? Oddly enough, I do see a lot of people on Twitter kind of saying that they've bought a significant amount of call options for, I think it was, if I remember correctly, 2025 expiry date, so January the 17th. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. Plus, if you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.